Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Over me. Over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my own grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more weeping, don't you know? No more weeping. No more weeping over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my own grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. I'm going home to my Lord and be free.
You need help.
Peace, greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Look, tonight we have a special pop-up BTP National Freedmen's Day, February 1st. You know, we have been over at BTP, have been running with the term freedmen since about the middle of last year. We established an organization, a nonprofit called the United Sons and Daughters of the Freedmen. And we are really, we are really staunch on pushing freedmen because it represents that title, that name. It represents the unfinished business of our ancestors. And that business was largely impeded by racists in the South. And we're going to get into a lot of that. Family, ring the doorbell when you come in, AKA hit the like button so you can become a part of the notification nation here at Be the Power. Share this out. Let people know that we are not just having a discussion, we are having a transformative discussion that realigns us back with our ancestral energy. You know, we need to get back into the ways and thinkings of our forefathers here in the United States of America. You know, a lot of what we do now is centered on, you know, is just centered on stuff that's not rooted in our ancestry. We're looking to Africa, we're looking to Morocco, we're looking to Egypt, you know, we're looking everywhere except our, you know, where our ancestors are. We're looking everywhere except there. And I believe that that's a mistake. So, you know, one of the things that we wanted to do tonight was basically have the first of many celebrations. It's an online celebration. We know that COVID is ravaging. You know, COVID is doing its thing right now. They're saying that an even more deadlier strain is now ravaging the United States of America. They're saying the next 6 to 9 weeks is going to be brutal. So, you know, we at BTP, we urge you all to mask up, take the necessary precautions, follow all of the CDC mitigation guidelines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, I'm gonna open it up to my bros. If you want to support the channel, I see our super chat feature is still not yet working on this new channel, but you can send contributions via Cash App and Patreon. You could become a monthly member. Those links are in the description. So let me open it up to my brothers. I got my brother Grim in the building. I got my brother Dr. Logic Supreme in the building. BTP is on deck. What's going on, bros?
Peace, peace, peace. What's up, Freedmen?
Peace, peace, Freedmen. We are Freedmen correspondents in this thing. You know what I mean?
Happy Freedmen's Day, brother.
Happy Freedmen's Day.
Happy Freedmen's Day.
We're going to get into the significance of that, right? And when you introduced it, you know, we have all been on a journey to recapture our history and our former glory. But the way you have to go about doing that, you can't recapture your former glory if you don't know your story, right? So we got to get into our own story. You talked about how people want to take trips to the East and people want to be everything but what they truly are because the lack of knowledge, right? We don't know our own story, so we are looking for things to have pride in. But you don't know the greatest people that ever existed in the human history, in the history of mankind, were born right here in the hills of North America under that beast called chattel slavery. And they went and they came up out of that thing, broke the chains and came out of that thing and was known as freedmen and women. You understand? We have the greatest story, but you wasn't told your story. They didn't want to quicken that hero and that shero spirit that lives in us all. So they don't teach you nothing about that. They just teach you about the chains, but they don't teach you about the magnanimity of our people. You have to understand we are the greatest people that have ever been manifested in flesh. And we're going to get into them stories tonight. And we're going to talk about why and what type of elements we had to deal with in this country and what made us so great battling this beast. There is no story like the Freedmen story. You won't find a story nowhere in the history and anyone else's history, in any people's history. Is there a story that is like this one? People say, well, everybody's suffered and we've been through the oppression. We're not going to try to do the oppression Olympics. That's not what we're talking about, people. We talking about knowing your story. And if you knew your story, it will rival anything you ever read in the Bible, anything you ever read in any fairy tale. But the only thing about this is documented history that you can prove, and you are related to these people. This is your great aunts and uncles and great grandmothers and grandfathers. This is our family who's done these things. And we're going to show you and talk we're going to go all month with this Freedmen history. All month because this Freedmen history is why we're reparationists today. You understand? So we're going to introduce you to some history that you probably haven't heard. Some may have heard, some may have not heard, but it's our history and we're going to talk about it tonight.
Facts. Brother Josh.
Peace, family. Peace.
Happy Freedmen's Day, brother. What's
Happy
going on?
Freedmen's Day. Hold up. Get my webcam straight here. Got in my little bedroom. So, happy Freedmen's Day, family. Man. You know, it's amazing how this information is not taught to us when we're coming up. This perspective is not taught to us when we're coming up. You know, the fact that we can look at our lineage and tie it to people who have been through it all. Like we done seen it all, done it all, and we can go and look at I'm gonna just talk about my family. My family on my mom's side, it go back to, it's foundational to Virginia. We can go back to before Virginia even had a constitution. When I think about that and think about, I have one ancestor that I tie my lineage back to from 1801 that lived to 1904. Now think about that. When you live from 1801 and you live all the way to 1904, you done seen 103 years of, a lot of that was slavery. A lot of that was the worst atrocities that you could possibly think of. A lot of that was coming from a situation where you was serving at whatever needs, whims, or whatever wants and desires that the so-called white person that was a slave owner, whatever they wanted. You seen your children do the same thing, your grandchildren do the same thing, and you survived. You know what I mean? You were able to pass down that lineage from years and years and years. And you don't think those people was fighters? Man, it was a fight to survive. Those people were fighters, man. So when we say Happy Freedmen's Day, we talking about people that was fighters, people that was survivors, people that was working to make a better situation for their future generations. And what do we look like not celebrating that? What do we look like not fighting to keep that moving forward? So that's what I feel when I hear people say, Happy Freedmen's Day. It's not just about a month where we studying some history. I'm talking about, now I ain't talking about no history. I don't need to go. I'm talking about my direct family, and collectively, when we have that perspective, man, it should give us a great sense of pride, and we should that sense of pride should translate into our advocacy as we demand that the government of the country that we built and made the largest contribution to, make sure that they see that too. If we see that, we feel that, they need to see it, and they need to feel it, and it needs to reflect in the policy that we need, and it needs to reflect in the justice that we receive in the country that we made this contribution to.
Facts. Let me pull this up real quick. Dr. Lily, our favorite.
You gotta let Brother Grimm get in there.
Oh yeah, no. Okay,
Grimm?
I want Grimm to come in. Dr. Lily, our favorite supporter and antagonist, is in the chat. Says, let me pull it up on the screen.
Hey, I love Dr. Lily.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Dr. Lily. But we gotta go at Dr. Lily. Hey, once in a blue. She said, how is it Happy Freedmen's Day? Y'all just gonna dismiss our enslaved ancestors of distinction. No Denmark Vesey, no Barracoon. It's Black History Month, bro. She said, oh, y'all out here making up a holiday. Laugh out loud.
Please, can I address that, brother?
Go ahead, bro.
Well, first of all, the freedmen are the ex-slaves, and the slaves are the freedmen. And we're not making up a day. This day has been celebrated. Now, you're a doctor, so
Talk to him, bro.
If you do your research and you listen and let us finish the show, we'll explain to you why we are saying Freedmen's Day or Freedom Day, right? But since we got to jump the gun, here it is. Freeman's Day or Freedom Day was basically a day that was set aside February 1st. And it celebrates freedom from slavery. So we're not talking about no different people. We're talking about the people who were enslaved and the people who came into the point of the Emancipation Proclamation. And National Freedom Day is a literal holiday that's on the books that nobody really talks about, Dr. Lee. So we're not making nothing up. This is a National Freedom Day. And we say Freedom Day or Freedmen's Day at BTP. The holiday was observed February 1st. Celebrate freedom of slavery, and it's supposed to be a symbol of what American liberty is and what it's supposed to look like. And it celebrates the day, the original day that Abraham Lincoln signed the joint resolution in the House Senate that later became the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So we ain't bypassing nobody. We talking about all those people who are connected in family, the slaves, and when they came to the point of when they became the freemen. So basically, basically Abraham Lincoln or President Lincoln signed the 13th Amendment outlawing slavery on February 1st, 1865. However, it wasn't ratified by the states until about December 18th, 1865. So we're not making nothing up. This is what Freedom Day is. This is what is entailed. And to give you a little tidbit, this actual day of Freedom Day, what we have celebrated basically is the beginning of the creation of what we are celebrating now this month called Black History Month. It started off as February 1st Freedom Day and became Negro History Week or Black History Week, and eventually extended until the whole month of February, basically becoming Black History Month. So happy Freedmen's Day.
Definitely. Let me read this.
Well, hold on. Let me.
Hold up.
Hold up. Come on now. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Conservative, not that. Liberal, progressive, well, only if you reparationists. Only if you're
there it is.
Ooh, look at that. Yo, that
hoodie. I gotta get one of those.
I gotta give you one.
I gotta get one of those ASAP.
Come on now, Freedman. But let me my Freedman correspondent Brother Graham fired me up with that now. Now, Dr. Leedy has got all this good American education, right? And been raised to the highest heights, got her doctorate, but she don't know her own history. You understand? Not to say that she don't know nothing about her own history, but the best parts have been hid from her. Just like the establishment used to keep the best parts of the hog or the cow to themselves, they kept the best part of our history for themselves, and they gave you the slop. That's why we are bringing it back to the forefront. We're bringing you the choicest pieces, right? We're bringing you the ribeye history. We're bringing you the lamb chop history. You've had that hog maw history and that chitlin history for too long. That is Freedmen's Month and Freedmen's Day. They want to hide that, call it Black History Month. It ain't no Black History Month. This is about the freedmen. This is about the breaking chains of chattel slavery. This is about Harriet Tubman being the first female to ever lead a military raid. This is about Robert Smalls taking over a Confederate battleship, taking it to the Union, then becoming the captain of that battleship, going and waging war on his former slave owners, winning his freedom, then going buying the land that he used to work as a slave. We talking about freedmen history, and this is the best and greatest history, and we giving you the best and greatest knowledge right now. So we didn't have to get PhDs, but Dr. Logic is a doctor anyway. We doing surgery on your own legacy and your own lineage and putting the pieces back together that have been fractured. This system has fractured us in a way that only a doctor of another kind can put back together. You understand? So Grim, beautiful breakdown of the history, and we're going to continue to give you some more.
Peace. And I wasn't disrespecting the doctor.
No,
I'm
No,
just
no,
saying,
no.
Dr. Lily, I love you, sister. I wasn't disrespecting you. But, basically, if you would have gave us a chance to explain why this is going on and why we celebrating this national history, this National Freedmen's Day, it would be greatly appreciated if you would have let us come through with the information first. But I love you, sis. And the bottom line is that this whole Freedmen concept, we basically have to start understanding what happened at 1865. Because in one school of thought that we come from, we say that this is a new era of time now. 1865, right, when our ancestors was freed from chattel slavery, and thus was the term freeman. And like Brother Logic, Dr. Logic always talk about is that the freedom terminology is actually a terminology that we can trace back to, that's basically codified in the government, and that we can go back and actually trace the records and things of that nature to actually see what happened. And when we look at all of the dissension and the destruction in our community and the lack of wealth and the gap and the wealth gap, that didn't start in the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s. Well, we can trace that all the way back to the actual breaking of the promises of the freedmen after Reconstruction. You follow what I'm saying? It's and this is how our legal and our legal claim to reparations is because the fact of them holding us into chattel slavery for 300 something years, right? And freeing us from slavery, passing laws. The federal government passed laws for the integration of the freedmen into the larger society. So they failed in those efforts, and we'll get into this more as the show go on, but they failed in those efforts of making us basically free, indeed, by closing the economic disparities. And basically, I'm glad that picture is up because they got a bunch. I'm gonna put some up as well. And they basically turned over the governments to the former slaves. That what on the screen, what you see now is the radical members, as they say, of Carolina. So immediately after the emancipation, our people were basically put in power in what is called the Reconstruction governments. But I'm not going to go too deep because I'm going to let the brothers go. But y'all go see that there's power to participate in government was slowly taken away from the freedmen. With that, I say peace.
All right, I want to read something right quick. This is a clip from Wikipedia. As my sister.
And after that, Naheem, pull that bill up I got in there.
All right. It says Major Richard Robert Wright Sr., a former slave, believed that there should be a day when freedom for all Americans is celebrated. Wright invited national and local leaders to meet in Philadelphia to formulate plans to set aside February 1st each year to memorialize the signing of the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution by President Abraham Lincoln on February 1st, 1865, which freed all U.S. slaves. 1 year after Wright's death in 1947, both houses of the U.S. Congress passed a bill to make February 1st National Freedom Day. The holiday proclamation was signed into law on June 30th, 1948 by President Harry Truman. It was the forerunner to Black History Day and later Black History Month, officially recognized.
Read that again. Hold on now. Read that again.
It was the forerunner. It was the forerunner to Black History Day, and Black History Month officially recognized in 1776, though begun by Carter G. Woodson in 1926. So, what we're looking at here is the origins of Freedom Day. that we're just calling Freedmen Day. I don't want nobody to confuse that. But yeah, Freedom Day and Freedom Day and Freedmen Day are actually the same things. There's no difference because it was the freedom of our people from enslavement that made them freedmen in the first place. So we can use the terms interchangeably between freedom and freedmen. It's simple. We ain't making nothing up. It's just
What I'll say to
fact.
that, what we doing is we putting the people and adding a context to it. See, when you just say Freedom Day, it makes it to where you can do something like the Department of the State did, where they get to frame it around. Well, I don't know if you got the I don't know if you got the tweet. You can just, damn, I wish I had it pulled up. The tweet of the U.S. State Department, their tweet about National Freedom Day. They get to frame it around, well, in human trafficking, in sex trafficking and all that. That's an international issue. Well, wait a minute. National Freedom Day wasn't about no sex trafficking and it was talking about the human trafficking, if anything, of our people and the bondage of our people here in America. So when we talk about Freedom Day, we gotta it's more powerful, and it really needs to be changed to Freedmen's Day, because we need the context of the people who inspired the language of even having that day, who were deserving of having a day who made the country, have to take an act, who made the country have to take an act that actually demonstrated freedom. Like, you can't say that America represents freedom when you got a large percentage of your population that's in bondage. You can't. So it's more impactful if we say Freedmen's Day, because we put an actual people to that holiday and we keep the context centered so people don't forget who it's about.
Facts.
And it does, see, for the same purposes that Josh just explained about Freedom Day, and adding that context so that they can't creep and try to deviate the intent and purpose of that day. We call it Freedmen's Day so they understand the historical context, right? Because that's the same thing they do with Black History Month. They say Black History Month, but what is Black History Month, an American holiday, all about? It's supposed to be about the freedmen and the history and the trials and tribulations that the freedmen have gone through here. But what has it evolved to? It's about every and anything Black. It's about all kind of stuff. It don't really. Black History Month was supposed to tell you the story of your ancestors here in America. Black History Month celebrations, they talk about all kind of stuff, pyramids in Africa, and now they done brought in Black Indians and all this stuff. They done just brought in and infiltrated the purity of the holiday. So we're here to clean up all of the mess. We're gonna get it purified. And we're going to sanitize this thing and get it back to our honoring our ancestors, our true bloodline ancestors. That's what we about, Can you, and when we talk about this word freedman, you have to understand, this is a powerful identity. The people known as freedmen put fear in the hearts of the nation. The people were so intimidated by freedmen. This is what created the world that we live in. So when they heard that name, the freedmen, that made people shudder. Ooh, the freedmen is around here. We got to do something. Look at the type of legislation they created because of freedmen. It scared them to death. Can we blow that up a little bit? If not, I'll read it off my phone. So this is why I love the term freedmen, because it's acknowledged by legislation and policy and programs by the United States government, by state government, and federal government. It's already historically on the books. So the government has already acknowledged that as an identity for our specific group. So let me go in here and look at this. Let's read this act. What does it say? What does this act say? Let me pull it up and blow it up. Now it says House Resolution 613 in the Senate of the United States, May 20th, 1966.
That's 30th.
I can't. It's really.
Yeah. I could tell. I got it really blown up.
May 30th, 1866. Read twice and refer to the Committee on Military Affairs and the Militia. June 11th, 1866. reported by Mr. Wilson with amendments via strike out the parts in black and insert those printed in the italics. It says an act to continue, enforce, and to amend an act to establish a bureau for the relief of freedmen and refugees and for other purposes, be it enacted by the Senate and House Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the act to establish a bureau for the relief of freedmen and refugees approved March 3rd, 1865 shall continue in force for the term of 2 years from and after passage of said act. And be it further enacted that the supervision and care of said bureau shall extend to all loyal refugees and freedmen, so far as the same shall be necessary to enable them as speedily as practicable to become self-supporting. Listen to what they're saying, right? We're going to go over this. A self-supporting citizens of the United States, and to aid them in making the freedmen conferred by proclamation of the commander-in-chief, right? What are they talking about here? They're talking about reparations. They're talking about repairing the damage that was done up until 1865. They're talking about creating a program and a project to aid and assist the freedmen to create a path to full self-sustaining citizenship. That's what they're talking about. This is a government act to create a bureau. And then we're going to go into other pieces of that bureau, right? They had a savings and a company, all of that, a savings and trust company. They had so many different things that went on, but we saw what reparations was supposed to look like right after the Civil War. And then I'm going to read a piece and we're going to talk about what happened about it. But we kind of saw how we were supposed to be set up with the 40 acres and a mule land grants based upon 10 acres to each individual of a family of 4. You understand? And a work animal. We saw how that was taken away from us, right? So we see they had capital, they had banking institutions, education institutions, land grants. They knew what we needed. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to say, what was you supposed to give my ancestors? We're going to give us that, and then we're going to times that by what it should have appreciated from that time. You know, so we're going to get into this thing.
Definitely. Let me see, Josh, you got something you want to get into?
Yeah, I just wanted to show y'all like why we say National Happy Freedmen's Day is because like what I was saying earlier, if you don't frame it, if you don't give the context to the people who this thing was about, it'll allow, if you just let it stand as National Freedom Day, it allows them to tell whatever story and use it for whatever purposes that they want to use it for without acknowledging who made America actually have the privilege of even talking, to even come out his mouth talking about some freedom. It was not anybody that happened today. It was not anybody today. It was somebody, it was a group of people that fought, bled, died, suffered, and still have not received justice from over 150 years ago. So when you get to say, well, today nearly 25 million people are globally are exploited by traffickers. Yeah, we understand that, but you don't get to use National Freedom Day, or what we should say Freedmen's Day, as you know, to boost your policy, to boost your awareness to something that's going on today. And you haven't even given refuge, you haven't even given justice to the people who made this day become a reality, to make America be able to use the term freedom. You haven't even given us justice after 150 years, but you're talking about some 25 million globally in other countries. Now, I mean, of course, I don't have a problem with those, you know, wrong being eradicated around the globe and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, let's just say this thing was not called National Freedom Day and it was called Freedmen's Day, would they say National Freedmen's Day? Would they be able to say,
nope.
They wouldn't be able to say that. So
Nope.
you know, if it's about us, if it happened because of us, then you know, that's why I like it to be centered around that. And I don't care what they call it. We calling it Freedmen's Day. I don't care what they want to say, National Freedom Day. No, you don't get to call it National Freedom Day when you didn't give us reparations. When you give reparations, then we can do all that. Until then, Freedmen's Day, and then after that, Freedmen's Day. Period.
Indeed. All right. we got some interesting questions. I want to add real quick. You know, when we look at our place in the United States of America, Thurgood Marshall scoffed at the founding fathers, right? Because they were slave owners. It was like the hypocrisy, the Emancipation Proclamation. It didn't really have any criticism of slavery, right? It was really just this blanket statement. And that is why I believe that it was ignored. The status of 800,000 of our ancestors who were enslaved were not affected by the Emancipation Proclamation at all. In 4 different states, Kentucky, Missouri, Delaware, and Maryland, we see that our people were still enslaved. In fact, in the South, where the Union held their forts, or if they took over towns and cities, etc., slavery was still legal there. So the message was, during the time of the Emancipation Proclamation, that you can have slaves, just not if you're a rebel against the United States of America. If you're in the United States of, this is why the passage of the ratification of, I should say, the 13th Amendment was so important to our history. And this is why this day, which commemorates the ratification of the 13th Amendment, is so important, because there's a lot of history that has also kind of been glossed over in our steps towards freedom. So I just wanted to interject that. And let me see. We have a question though I want the brothers to address. Brother Gerard Ibn Lamar said, we must reenact something like it again, but this time not under the Department of Defense, but a standalone agency with a cabinet level director and budget. What do y'all think about that?
I agree 100%. Because, since we not in combat, at least line at this time, since we not in combat, why?
We ain't in civil war, right? We ain't at civil war.
At least not yet. But we a standalone agency, cabinet level director that reports straight to the president. I agree 100%. And the budget, right?
And it wouldn't be under the Department of the State, I don't believe, because it's not, you're not dealing with like international relationship, like like the Bureau of Indian Affairs or whatever. Is that under the Department of State? I believe it is.
I believe so.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not like you're dealing with quasi nation to nation type of dealings, So we're citizens, but this thing is long overdue, and I believe it needs to be another. Some people want to call it Bureau of African American Affairs. No, just Freedmen's Bureau, reinstated and put as a standalone branch. And the reason why is because, if you look at most of these branches of government, in terms of like cabinets, they have evolved over the years. Go back in like during the New Deal era, you see a whole lot of new cabinets and a new reorganization and name changing. Even you go look at today's since underneath George Bush, you see Department of Homeland Security. There's been a whole lot of reorganization with, intelligence agencies and all of that. So today, I believe we need to have a standalone cabinet because it's going to be a long project we've been done dirty for a long time. It needs to be a number one priority. So I believe it needs to be a standalone cabinet, and it needs to be because it's a long-term project to rectify the damage that was done.
Yeah, so we got to get back into the history, right? What happens? We talk about all these programs that was set up. You had employment aid and assistance programs that was set up. You had freedmen commissions and councils all over the country where you had superintendents. It was a very well planned and very well put together idea and project, but it didn't fail. A lot of people like to talk about it like it failed, like Reconstruction failed. Reconstruction did not fail. In fact, Reconstruction was overthrown. Let me read some history for you, right? If I will. So a book that we have come out of a lot through this past year called The Bloody Shirt gives a very good account of what really happened by this man. Let me read. It says, in 1879, an exhausted Albion Tourgier, an Ohio-born man who, as a state judge in North Carolina, had fiercely defended the rights of the common man, colored and white, who had defied Ku Klux threats and the snares of contrived bar of conservative bar when he impeached and impaneled African Americans on juries and fined lawyers for saying nigger in the courtroom, gave a rueful and weary interview to the New York Tribune. This is what he said about Reconstruction. In all except the actual results of the physical struggle, I consider the South to have been the real victors in the war, talking about the Civil War. I am filled with admiration and amazement at the masterly way in which they have brought about these results, the way in which they have neutralized the results of the war and reversed the verdict of Appomattox is the grandest thing in American politics. Amazement because such an outcome was not inevitable or foreordained, because in the end, Reconstruction did not fail, but was overthrown with impunity and audacity in one of the bloodiest, darkest, and still least known chapters of American history. Now, Albion Tourgier is if you don't know about this legal mind, he is a great legal mind and has been a great white ally for freedmen throughout history. He worked on the Plessy versus Ferguson case. He came up with the legal term colorblind justice, and he just was really a friend of the freedmen. And you have a few like that, John Brown and others. John Brown and Albion Tourgier these were the type of white allies who faced death threats and things of that nature. They really put it in on the line. So we have to have those type of examples. And that's what he said. So all of these things that the government set up could have been executed expertly and perfectly, but it was overthrown by the conservatives. They call themselves Republicans today, but they're still Confederates.
That's right? What we say, man. We gonna stop calling them Republicans. Yeah. We gonna start calling them Confederates.
Yes.
And that's what they need to be called. That's exactly. We got Brother Ali in the building. What's going on, Brother Ali?
Peace. What's good? What's good? I think I missed a bunch of stuff, man. I'm just coming in.
Hey, Ali and Naheem, where y'all from, man? Tell people where y'all from. I don't think we know.
It's on the hat. It's on the hat.
That's funny. That's funny.
We New York freedmen, baby. We New York freedmen.
That's right. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
When we look at when we look at that period, and let me put this up here, the Southerners were never brought to account for their crimes against the nation. When we look at the radical Republicans, and for those that don't know, the Republicans back then were like the Democrats of today. I gotta stress, like the Democrats of today. They were the liberal left wing, particularly the radical Republicans. They were yesterday's progressives. In fact, progressive politics is born out of the actions of the radical Republicans. And it was they who put the South under military rule. And they were not allowed to govern again unless blacks were put on equal footing as any other citizen. Ali, I see you got something up. Let me read something. Let me read something real quick. Because I want people to I was on a live stream with Ankh, and I'll put the link to this in the chat when I'm finished. The name of this article is the second founding Reconstruction remade the Constitution. I want to pull this up real quick, and I want to read something because I was on with Brother Ankh and a bunch of brothers from the conscious community earlier. Ankh wanted me to come in and give a breakdown because it was some of our own people who were anti-reparationists in there, and they were, talking that, oh, but the white man is never gonna, but we can't be begging, and they're not gonna do this. I'm like, yo, come on, we can't be having this weak sucker energy, man. We can't have that. Our ancestors ain't have that. They were brutalized into the fear that many of y'all have today. But let me read from this, and I'm gonna put the link to this in the chat when I'm finished. It says, you never saw people more excited on the subject of politics than are the Negroes of the South, one planter observed. That type of exuberance is not there today. They rallied us around a tyrant in the White House. I believe he was a tyrant anyway. That's my opinion. And Donald Trump, because that was easy to do. But we got to get them, or get that same exuberance around reparations and agendas, policies, I should say, that benefit us solely. It says they are perfectly wild. Blacks enrolled in organizations such as the Union League, look up the Union League, family, which encouraged political education through speeches and debates. This is something that we can do as a freedmen society as we rebuild all over the United States of America. Take note. It continues. They petitioned local authorities. They attended Republican rallies and conventions. They voted and ran for office, even in the face of violent opposition from resentful whites who were appalled by the prospect of blacks, including former slaves, taking part in governance. Between 1870 and 1877, 16 blacks were elected to Congress, 18 to positions as state lieutenant governors, treasurers, secretaries of state, or superintendents of education, and at least 600 to state legislatures. Blacks never had decisive control over any state government, not even in Mississippi or South Carolina, where they constituted a majority of voters. But for a short period, they wielded sufficient power in substantial parts of the South to insist on the establishment of public education, laws relatively favorable to workers, debtors, and tenants, and prohibition against various sorts of racial discrimination. Remember those years, 1870 to 1877. I believe it was Du Bois who called those the 7 mystical years. So, we can look back in history, because history is the best teacher to give us a blueprint on how we forge along. We don't face the Ku Klux Klan gunning us down and putting up effigies that said this nigga voted, scaring us from going to. We are different. We different from our ancestors then. I ain't saying that they were just fearful, but the chances of them murdering one of us because of such, as the article stated, is not the same today. So we ain't having none of that at all. And we got to get back into that. We got to get back into the ways and the thinking of our ancient forefathers right here on United States of America soil. Then we invoke that ancestral power, that ancestral energy that puts us back in the seats of office like our ancestors, as I just read. So, Brother Ali, I'm going to pull your screen up, brother. And
yeah. Did you guys show this image already?
no.
I thought this was interesting because it kind of gives you a breakdown of the propaganda pieces that began to come out too during this time period, and the sentiment of certain whites in terms of the government support for this Freedmen's Bureau and so forth. So you, as you see here, this is a propaganda piece. Look at how they drew the so-called black man, looking like a monkey, right? You see that, or monkey, gorilla, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they did this particular piece that was circulated, they say the Freedmen's Bureau is an agency to keep the Negro in idleness at the expense of the white man. Twice vetoed by the president and made law by Congress. Support Congress and you support the Negro. Sustain the president and you protect the white man. I mean, there's more obviously in this particular piece. It's just hard to read, but I think it's, you know, it's in line with what you guys are talking about in terms of how Reconstruction was attacked by white people, particularly white men in the southern states, you know.
Yes, and that was very powerful, and it brought up a lot of things. And what you just said really goes into the message that we've been talking about, and I've been really trying to drive home for quite some time. Look at what the combination of what Naheem just read, followed by what you just said, right? Naheem talked about the freedmen who became statesmen, 600 state offices all throughout local government. They understand that politics is local. You understand, right? So even though there was a federal act, right, we was working with what? With who though? The legislature. See, now the president was very adversarial to us, but we worked with Congress because you can get more. What have we been saying? You have to be congressionally focused. We had a congressional focus back then, right? So we had a president who wanted to do something for us. They killed him, but we stayed congressionally focused. And they put a madman in office, but we were still able to get stuff done. He tried to veto everything he did. He vetoed the 1866 Civil Rights Act. He vetoed the 14th Amendment. He tried to veto everything. He vetoed the Freedmen's Bureau. He tried to, but guess what? The legislature came through at the end of the day. So we had the right ideas. Our ancestors were wise. They weren't like that propaganda that Ali just put up there. Some ignorant Negroes who couldn't write and was illiterate and they didn't know how to talk. They were very smart. They were excellent, genius statesmen. And you got to say, how did they? You got to ask yourself. We got to be a people with like superpowers to be able to participate at that high of a level straight out. This is not even a year. This is just a couple years out of chains. So it was illegal. It was illegal for us to even read, but we come straight out putting pen to policy and shaping the very environment where we live. This is what terrified white society and what fueled all of the violence that we saw, which create that political power created the bushwhackers, the Ku Klux Klan, the Midnight Marauders, the Red Shirts, the Riflemen's Club. It created all that stuff because of our political power and our political genius, and we had the numbers. They were scared of our numerical majority and our voting potential power in the South. And man, we are amazing people if you just get to your history now. I'm telling you, they don't teach you this in school.
Freeman first, man. Freeman first.
Freeman first. F1, baby.
Now.
Grim, your screen is black, bro.
Okay, hold on 1 second. How
Somebody,
about now?
it's still black. While you fixing that, I'm gonna pull this question up.
Okay.
It says, is it plausible to reenact the Freedmen's Bureau and Bank to be housed on black colleges and college campuses? I don't know. I don't know if I could answer that. I don't think that I would want the bureau on a college campus or a bank, but I mean, maybe my brother's got a different answer for that.
I don't see the significance of it being housed in HBCU. I don't think the actual location of the bank is significant as far as the protection of the bank, and that bank having an account with U.S. Treasury, just like China has, and just like other entities have, just like Raytheon has, and just like Bowen has, and just like all these mega corporations have. We need to have an account with the Treasury that they can just go in there on that computer and put the numbers in, so people don't have to say, well, we got to print all this money. You don't got to do all that. Big banks and bureaus and institutions like that have an account with the U.S. Treasury. All they have to do is go in there and adjust the numbers in the bank and on a computer, and we're there. All I care about is the solvency of the bank, and that bank having the access to enough capital to be able to fund us and we be able to get what we need out of that thing. As long as it's solvent and it's protected, I don't care where the bank is at, because I do all my banking online.
Yeah, we definitely in a different time. Okay, there we go, brother Grim.
Yeah, and I just basically want to segue on what Logic so eloquently put out. These people were right out of slavery. Basically what you have here is these brothers put in office after the Reconstruction. These right here, they're freedmen. These the first colored senators and representatives in the 31st and the 42nd Congress of the United States. On the far left, you have our hero. We need to start honoring these people. You got hired rebels,
yes,
which are the most powerful brothers in the Reconstruction and in these governments. And one day we're going to get into an esoteric breakdown, but I don't want to get so much into that right now. But these people were running the government, the various governments of the South, right? Before the compromise. And we're going to get into that as well, because that's basically what's caused the trouble. So y'all see, these brothers were in power. I'm going to try to show it another one, if y'all can give me a second. But the bottom line, you have all these brothers here in the Carolinas, in Louisiana. As a matter of fact, you have PBS Pinchback, who was the governor of the state of Louisiana right after, for a brief period, but right after Reconstruction. Y'all follow what I'm saying? Y'all can look at it. And you had Oscar James Dunn, who was the lieutenant governor. And we also recently found out some information that I can't remember the exact person that was running, but Oscar James Dunn, a Freedman. Wait, hold on. Let me put this. I gotta put this up, brothers. But Oscar James Dunn was basically the lieutenant governor, but he was about to run on a ticket with the presidential candidate. That's another part of the Freedmen history that they don't tell you about. Indeed. So we got a lot of history in that regard, but I also want to you can take that down
just hit stop screen share.
So with that being said, what is the cause of all of this stuff? We got this reconstructed governments, and I want to show one more just to show y'all how powerful and how elegant and noble the freedmen were immediately after being freed from slavery. So, you got the I just showed y'all that was Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. But you basically have the reconstructed governments of these particular states. And I'm going to share one more time, brother Naheem and all of BTP fam. Let's see. Y'all gotta forgive me. I'm not as familiar with this technology as my brother.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah, it's all
But
right.
while he's pulling that up, family, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're sharing this out. Like class is in session. We not playing. We was never playing. We never came here to play. We never came here to grift. We never came here to be YouTube sensations and celebrities. We never came here to just talk from week to week to week to week without having no plan. This teaching right here is leading us and giving us the steps on what we need to do to, as reparationists, as descendants of freedmen, to go back and take our place in the affairs of men. So, make sure y'all hit the like button. If you would like to contribute to the channel, you can donate by going to the cash handle, Be the Power on Cash App. The super chat feature is not available on this new channel as of yet. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Ring the doorbell when you come in from now on if you haven't done so, and hit that little bell icon next to it. Brother Grimm, I see what you have up. If you can blow up the screen a little bit so the people there it goes, or just explain that image or the name of that image.
"64 parishes." Okay, now we talking. Yeah.
Right. So basically, this is Louisiana. I saw brother Lionel in the chat. He's from down here as well. But I don't know if y'all could. Okay, that's basically cut off. I'm a make it I'm gonna scale it down, brother. But I'm gonna just go ahead and explain it. But basically, what you have here is the reconstructed governments of Louisiana, and you see all these brothers. All these brothers is holding office, in the various districts in the state of Louisiana. And here you basically have Oscar James Dunn, the lieutenant governor of Louisiana, sitting in so we talking about freedmen.
That's
you
right.
Follow what I'm saying? The freedmen, we was in control of the various governments in the South. They basically we were basically put into power, reinforced, and basically protected from molestation by our federal government. You follow what I'm saying? And that's why, voting is so important. You follow what I'm saying? Voting is important because it was the freedmen. These people under the threat of death, like Logic was saying, these people were going to the polls and voting their interests. Now, what happened? Let's talk about what happened, that you have all of these great freedmen, right? These great descendants of slaves who basically in South Carolina, all of Mississippi, Louisiana, and so on forth, basically in control of the government. What happened from then to them hanging black people all out of trees and stuff like that? Let's go ahead and explain basically what happened. So you have the 1865, you have slavery being free, the end of the Civil War, the slaves being let out. You have the assassination of President Lincoln, which I think that his vice president had something to do with that. You follow what I'm saying? And immediately after the assassination of President Lincoln, you have Andrew Johnson, who basically started undoing the policies and siding with the Democrats the Dixiecrats, the Democrats, with them, because see, them people, they didn't care whether they got their ass whipped in the war, right?
That's right.
So basically, they were going to keep fighting.
Yes.
Now, that's why what they call the radical Republicans, you notice that they are somebody who always fighting for right. They always got to call them radical to try to make it sound bad, right? But they had the people like Thaddeus Stevens, who basically was fighting on our behalf, and for lack of a better word, Thaddeus Stevens said, "Hey man, we can't take the foot off of the necks of these Confederates, because if we do, they're gonna put us right back into slavery, put the freedmen right back into slavery, right?" So you go down to 1877. We basically, what I'm doing is I'm explaining to you all what happened way back 150 something years ago is still having an effect on our lives as far as how these people treat us with policy.
That's right.
The kid gloves that President Biden is going to handle our problems. He passed these executive orders, but they barely touched on the things that we really need to deal with racial discrimination. So look this up, family, because I don't want to be long. I don't want to be long-winded. Look up the Compromise of 1877, right? So when you look up the Compromise of 1877, you'll realize that there was an election, just like this election was. Everything, this stuff just keeps cycling over and over again. It's just the same thing in new bodies. There was the election of Rutherford B. Hayes, and basically Rutherford B. Hayes was the father of the policy of let alone. Let it be what it is. And what they did was they took the Compromise of 1877, which basically allowed the Confederates to come back into power in their governments. And the federal troops who were protecting the rights of the freedmen were eventually taken out of New Orleans, Louisiana, Carolina, where the last vestige that they were showing that, hey, they got troops that we can mobilize at any given any given moment at an insurrection. So when they pulled them out, that allowed these Southerners to continue to molest the freedmen. And that's why we got Jim Crow, and that's why we needed Dr. Martin Luther King and others to come in and have a civil rights movement. But this stuff should have been handled way back then, and we still got these problems.
Yes, because let me see. We spoke about the greatness in Louisiana, right? Somebody said in the chat, well, those men were free before emancipation, before they were free, right? Well, let's talk about it. Let's. That may be the case for some of them. That wasn't the case for all of them, and just about every last one of them spent some time in chattel slavery. Now let's take a trip on to South Carolina. And then, do we got any South Carolinians in the house, right? If you don't know about this man, get into your South Carolina history. All my South Carolina folks.
My family comes out of both lines out of South Carolina.
Well, look, you might have this. Naheem, you probably got this man in your blood. Now that I think about it, you probably got this man in your blood. If y'all don't know about this man, this is a great man, Prince R. Rivers, the greatest man that you never knew of. And if you're from South Carolina, you better get to know about this man. Let me read a little bit of something about Prince Rivers. There's so much to read about him, but let me read just a little bit. If Prince Rivers was not yet South Carolina's king, as his colonel had once predicted he may someday be.
Let him know what you're reading out of Logic.
I'm reading out none other than The Bloody Shirt. Get the book, The Bloody Shirt by Stephen Bundusky. It's an excellent read, excellent captivation of our history. And he's talking about Prince Rivers. This man knows about Prince Rivers. Why don't you? Right? So that's not no shame. You just got to understand the game that's been played on us, and we got to get and unearth our own history. This is why they don't want you to know about our heroes in America. Let me talk to you about Prince Rivers and what he was doing in 1868 after he fought in the Civil War to free himself from bondage. If Prince Rivers, right, that's why they're referring to his colonel, because he was a volunteer in one of the Negro regiments, right? And he was that's a whole, I could do a whole nother show about what he did in the Civil War. But let's talk about what he did after, right? If Prince Rivers was not yet South Carolina's king, as his colonel had once predicted he might someday be, he was Hamburg's prince. When colored men received the right to vote for delegates to the new constitutional convention that Congress had ordered the southern states to convene, Rivers was selected as a register of voters. What have we been talking about on BTP? The power of registering voters, being a voter. We here at BTP have the spirit of the freedmen in our veins. You understand? The blood of the freedmen in our veins and the spirit in our breath. Now, it says Rivers was selected as a register of voters and then elected as a delegate. That same year of miracles, 1868, he was elected to the state legislature. Listen to this man's history. He was elected to the state legislature and became a trial justice or magistrate for Hamburg. He handled the routine matters of small crime and small claims, writing his orders in a smooth flowing hand. Robert Hatchett Jr. claimed he had cut 15 cords of wood and 88 cross ties, had hauled 10 cords of wood and pulled fodder from 12 days and picked peas for 2 days for one George Sharpton. And it's getting into this specific case, but I want to skip past that and get to some of this other. So I want y'all to get this. It said he had done his job for a year when 100 citizens of Hamburg affixed their names to a petition to the governor. We, the undersigned citizens of Edgefield County, residing in and near the town of Hamburg, having heard that an effort is being made by certain persons to obtain the removal of Prince R. Rivers, Esquire, from the office of magistrate, protests against such removal for the following reasons. While we are not disposed to argue that Prince R. Rivers is the very best man that might have been appointed to fill the important office of magistrate, we are constrained to believe him better qualified, everything considered, than any of those who seek from personal considerations his removal. His official conduct has been marked by an impartial fairness that has not failed to command the respect and admiration of our most respectable citizens who politically opposed to Rivers, and hence we desire to keep him in office. The man who has shown himself able to rise against existing prejudice and to administer justice under the law with such an even hand as to draw down upon his shoulders the accumulative wrath of those less scrupulous, though perhaps more learned in law than himself. We got to understand what we're talking about. We're talking about a man 3 years after the Civil War ended, rose to state legislature and became a magistrate and was sentencing white folks to prison time. That is a hero. Do you understand the magnitude of what this man was doing? And his story gets better. His story gets better than that. You got to do some South Carolina history and dig deep about this man, Prince Rivers. That's a bad man right there. That's a bad man. He should be up on the walls. You got all these Confederates, General Lee this, and all these statues everywhere, but you don't got Prince Rivers in South Carolina. He should be at the state capitol in South Carolina. You should have Prince Rivers University. You should have Prince Rivers all in City Hall and in the Capitol building. We don't know our history, and that's the problem.
Right. And I want to say real quick, Logic, that's a great point. But and that's why they got all of these Confederates statues and stuff all around this place, man. That goes right back into what I was saying earlier. The Compromise of 1877, they let these people permeate not only the federal governments, but the local and state governments, and they started erecting those monuments so they can show the freedmen and the descendants of freedmen, the sons and daughters of freedmen, that they were still in control.
Yes.
Indeed, Brother Ali, and then we're gonna come to Brother Josh.
Uh-oh.
The infamous. This picture right here is infamous right here. Brother Ali, I think Brother Ali may have took a bathroom break or something. Brother Grimm, you want to step in and give a breakdown of what
I really don't want to. I mean, you can hold that one up. I don't want to steal Ali's thunder. There you go.
my bad, man. Yeah. So, I'm not going to add on too much history. You guys are doing, a magnificent job with that. But I just wanted to share certain images that I have pertaining to this time period. This is an image of Senator Hiram Revels, and
that's another bad man, y'all. Hiram Revels. Look that man up. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
That's a bad. Hold on. We got to do the Stephen A. Smith. That's a bad man.
Oh
Woo!
yeah. It's an image of Hiram Revels as a senator and Jefferson Davis being booted out of government. Right. You see, he's kind of look at the way they drew him is like he's leaving. Right. And so the interesting thing is the caption that they have for this image. I don't know. Can you see it? Do I need to make it bigger? Can you see it?
No, it just went black.
Oh, it went blank. Oh, my bad. How about now?
I mean, you could read it. I mean, we could see where it says "Time works wonders." The rest of it, I just blew it up. So maybe you could.
Oh, okay. So basically, this is a good one for some of the people who have a problem with the word "more." Right. This is interesting. Especially a lot of the ADOS people who have a problem with the word "more," who don't like the fact that some of us identify that way. But the fact is that's a part of our history, and I have some more breakdown on that I can give. But this is interesting because this is done by a white artist, and this was done in published in Harper's Ferry, right? So this particular artist he uses a piece from Othello, right, to talk about Hiram Revels and the relationship between Hiram Revels and Jefferson Davis as one takes power and the other one is pushed out of power. So it says, "Time works wonders," right? "For that I do suspect the lusty Moor has leaped into my seat," right? There's more, but the fact of the matter is Europeans knew us as Moors as well, not just as blacks and Negroes and colors and Africans or whatever the case is, but one of the words that they did know us as was also Moor, and this was represented in this particular piece right here with regard to Hiram Revels. So I just wanted to put that in there. That's really like a sidebar piece, but this is still dealing with that time period.
No, I don't view it as a sidebar piece. Remember we did a live stream called what was it? Confederates, Christianity, and cops or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was one of our early
I think that's what it was called.
Okay, it was one of our earlier episodes, and we go into this like they knew who we were. When you look at the what was his name? Not Thaddeus. Was it Thaddeus Stevens? No, the Stevens who was the vice president of the Confederacy out of South Carolina. When he's talking about the Negro is fit to be in the inferior and subservient position, he's using the biblical narrative in Genesis chapter 9, verses 25 through 27. And he says that these, as the Canaanites, basically, were cursed to be servants. So are the Negroes. Basically, the Negroes are the Canaanites. This is a historical fact. And one day we'll get back into some of that stuff. But I don't think that this is a sidebar issue. I think that it folds into the sentiment of many Europeans or whites at that time that looked at us. I mean, why make a painting and caption it as such? You know, there's Moors all over the records of South Carolina, of Georgia, of Virginia, and North Carolina, especially. So, and one day we can get into all of that, pull those records up, you know, just for those that have a problem with the word Moor and think that this is some thing that we're trying to dredge up from medieval times, et cetera, et cetera. No, y'all don't know what you're talking about. Brother Josh, did you want to add on anything?
Yeah, that picture right there just pretty much summed up like what was the driving force behind a lot of the massacres and supreme atrocities that were committed after you know, during that period after the Civil War, where bodies just start piling up in mass, where you know, look like these people that used to be enslaved to us, these people used to be inferior status to where they couldn't do anything but be subservient. Now these people are holding, you know, some of the highest offices in the land, and we got to look to them and reverence. People voting for them. They're controlling power in the vote at the ballot box. What? No, we gonna put an end to that. We're gonna stop that. We're gonna institute white supremacy for real. You know, and that's what we saw with that. You know, that
I have an image that kind of depicts that too, man. It's really crazy.
Go ahead and pull it up.
Check this image out. It kind of really depicts what Josh was just talking about, and what you guys were talking about in terms of you know, the terror that was bestowed on our people at that time. Let me know if you can see it.
Oh, hold on, my bad.
We're gonna remove all doubt about this thing. When people say they hear us talk about white supremacy, they think that's just something we made up. No, that's something they made up, and we're gonna prove it.
Yeah, so I want to read the caption. Hold on, this thing. Hold on, let me just move this over a little bit so I can blow it up.
This is why we fight, family. This is why we are taking on the name Freedmen, because it's established. It has a track record. It has a history embedded in the United States of America. And as Josh explained earlier, what they're trying to do is wipe out the freedmen by making it this world thing, when this day, Freedom Day, is supposed to be specifically for the freedmen.
So this is another piece. This one was published in 1876, close to the end of Reconstruction in Harper's Weekly. And check out what it says at the bottom. Now look at the image, right? This guy is in despair. Look like he's crying. You can see tears running down his face, shirt's torn. He's on his knees.
What does that say on that in the background? The white liners were here.
Yeah, and it's like everything is in rubble, like the
school, work,
workshop, home. You see people laying on the ground, like look like they're dead. Here's another one. Look, this right here. This one looks like he has a bullet hole in his head. It's a dead baby laying here. Looks like it's a mother holding the baby. She's dead. You know, and at the bottom it says, "Is this a Republican form of government?" It says, "Is this protecting life, liberty, or property? Is this the equal protection of the laws?" Right. So basically, the artist was trying to depict the terror, I guess, you know, what you guys are reading about in the Bloody Shirt and you know, books like that. The terror that came on our people for just trying to participate in, you know, in the process, man, and being American citizens.
Yeah, you gotta, and the violence is always followed up. Either it's preceded or followed by policy. They don't just do one or the other. You understand? And when Josh was saying they saw all of this greatness and all of the moves we were making, and it made them act a certain way, and then we saw white supremacy. Josh is not making that up. And I'm gonna prove it. Let's go. I know they like I'm doing a lot of reading. Now we going to school tonight. I have to read this stuff. Now we have to get this education, this history. What Josh said is an actual fact in the highest order. Now, going back to Reconstruction, right after the Civil War, you had that demon, Andrew Johnson, moving and shaking and doing what devils do. Listen to what he did now. It says, Benjamin F. Perry was a pre-war Unionist who had opposed secession for fear it would endanger slavery, but then had rallied to the Confederate cause and served in the South Carolina's Confederate legislature. Expecting stern terms from the federal government, Perry had been pleasantly surprised when President Andrew Johnson gave him the appointment as provisional governor and made clear he intended to leave the job of organizing the new state governments entirely in his hands, of what white Southerners like to call the natural ruling element of their society. The president asked Perry just to write occasionally and let him know how things were getting. And on in the Reconstruction state. Let me know how, just let me know. Go and do what you're going to do. We talking about a person who fought and who was a Confederate in the Confederate legislature. He just gets appointed governor right after the Civil War by Andrew Johnson. And he says, I don't really care how you reconstruct this thing. Just write me a letter here and there. Let's check out what type of man did he put in South Carolina? It said the new governor's first official act was to issue a proclamation reappointing all Confederate officials to the positions they had held in the state government at the time of the surrender. Do you hear that? He appointed all of the Confederates who had previously held the position. So our ancestors, the freedmen, had to fight a whole war to freedom. This is a real horror. You can't write horror. Stephen King can't write nothing like this. You understand? You done fought a whole war to free yourself. And then you done got free and you moving and shaking. Then the president put in one of your enemies back as the governor. And then all the people you was fighting with, he put them right back in power. And you got to relive this hell all over again. That is real horror. Now they talk about openly in the public white supremacy, and they clothe it and they soak it in Christianity. Listen, do you think I'm lying? Here I go. This is what they saying, not logic. This ain't what BTP saying. They wrote this with their own pen. Now, this is what they said. In his opening address to the convention, Perry made quick work of the freedmen. Our ancestors made quicker work of them, right? It was the delegates' unavoidable duty, he instructed them, however painful it may be, to adopt a declaration affirming that slavery will never again exist within the borders of the state. African slavery, which was a cherished institution of South Carolina from our earliest colonial history, he said, is gone, dead forever, abolished by the war-making powers of the United States military authorities. It was likely that 3/4 of the states would soon ratify the 13th Amendment, thereby making abolition the supreme law of the land. It was a necessary condition for South Carolina's readmission to the Union that their state include a like declaration in their state's new constitution. Until this is done, we shall be kept under military rule, and the Negroes will be protected as freedmen by the whole military force of the United States. You understand? But to be no longer a slave in no way made a Negro a citizen, Perry hasted to add. The radicals in the North, who were already saying that there should be no distinction between voters on account of color, forget that this is a white man's government, intended for white men only, Perry said. To speak of extending political equality to the Negro was nothing but folly and madness. And a few months later, it had become folly, injustice, and madness. The African has been in all ages a savage or a slave, Perry declared. God created him inferior to the white man in form, color, and intellect, and no legislation or culture can make him his equal. You might as well expect to make the fox the equal with the lion in courage and strength, or the ass the equal with the horse in symmetry and fleetiness. His color is black, his head covered with wool instead of hair, his form and features will not compare to that of the Caucasian race, and it is in vain to think of elevating him to the dignity of the white man. God has created a difference between the two races, and nothing can make him his equal. This is what the Governor Perry, the good Governor Perry of South Carolina, is telling at his inauguration. This is the speech he's making at his inauguration, family.
That's crazy. That's crazy, bro.
If you talking about white supremacy ain't real, what was that? What was that I just read? That's what the man said at his inauguration.
The governor.
The governor.
Now, you know, that's interesting because I believe those provisional governors was appointed, what, 1865? Yep. And then you see that you know they came out with the 14th Amendment, Section 2 after that, you know, in 1868, which pretty much made that not a possibility. Like if that would have happened in 1868, post the 14th Amendment, or if it would have happened in 1869 or whatever, that those provisional governors would not have been allowed to hold any office, because that amendment prohibited anybody who took up arms against the government of the United States from holding any office, right? And that was until the Amnesty Act of 1872, which kind of put that to the side. And I know that for a fact just because of researching my own ancestry, which includes, I mentioned it on the program before, that how I had an ancestor who was actually a lieutenant in the Confederate Army, who you know, a slaveholder that, you know, of course through rape became an ancestor of mine, and he actually, you know, signed the secession documents in Virginia, and he was able to actually hold office in Virginia due to that Amnesty Act of 1872. So what Logic just read, it's just damning. I mean, it's just crazy, and it goes to show you that the government knew that Reconstruction was not going to make it. It wasn't going to work with these provisional governors who wanted to make white supremacy pretty much overthrow anything. And I want to get to something else that the brother Logic was talking to before. Wow, worse than slavery. Yo, and this is right here. You see underneath that, right above that skull, where they got the White League and the KKK. It says the Union as it was. This is a white man's government. You see where it says the lost cause. See, one of the most prominent organizations up underneath the lost cause is the Daughters of the Confederacy. And that's why, you know, there needs to be across the nation a full-scale vetting and correction and deconfederatization. I think Dr. Darity, I think I heard that term from him at first, I believe, deconfederatization of the education system, because the reason why most of our people, and especially the European Americans, have a so-called white people, have an issue with the information that we talk about and don't have this embedded into their memory, is because of the lost cause movement that developed the educational system, which did not teach any of this. It taught all this kind of white apologist history and, you know, whitewashing of the Reconstruction period, or just completely leaving it out as a whole. And I want to bring something else up. I have my screen up here. Let me know if when y'all can see my screen.
It's up.
Okay. So when we talked about local politics, it just made me think about us having to focus the fight not just on the national push for reparations. Yes, that's key, but putting pressure on what you can do in your backyard and in your state. Because if you look at Virginia, it says Governor Ralph Northam announced, this is last August. Governor
you can't really see it, bro.
Okay.
Can you blow it? All right, there.
Y'all see it now?
A little bit better.
Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Hold on. Let me zoom in. Is that better?
Yeah, much better, much better.
Governor Northam announced a new African American history course, which will now be offered to high school students. Please see press release for the details to see which schools are starting to offer the course this year. All right. So I'm gonna come to the article right here. It says Governor Northam launched new African American history course in high school. So, which is good. You know, it's good. I mean, I have my criticism of Northam. Obviously, if anybody's been following Virginia politics, you know, our governor had an issue. I think he was in blackface, and he had some pictures from when he was in college dealing with somebody dressed up with a Klan member. He took a picture side, and he was in blackface. It was a crazy ordeal to the point where they were talking about, you know, removing him from office. And then all of a sudden, the next week or the next day or something, the lieutenant governor, who was a brother named Justin Fairfax, all of a sudden had all these crazy rape allegations that from when he was in college pop up, and woman came out of the woodworks, you know, making accusations on him. Then they stopped trying to get Northam out of office. Then, you know, they didn't do anything with the rape charges. That just kind of fell to the wayside. So as maybe sort of as an exchange, or you know, of course this may be pandering or whatever the case may be, I'll give them credit for doing some good things in Virginia, and that's why you got to keep the pressure on these politicians, even if you feel like they may be racist and white supremacists. Keep pressure on them, because they may have to do some things that may be positive. It may not be everything we need, but it may be positive that you can get out of them. That specifics.
Let me my bad, Joe. I want to just address this real quick. The General 04 said, "What's the curriculum?" No, we are putting together several things. The website, it was supposed to be launched this upcoming week. It just had a little setback, but we are putting together our first piece of literature is a civics guide. It's going to be very, very comprehensive. Like, we're going to get the ball moving, and we're going to make sure that this civics guide gets into the prisons as well, because that's where a lot of our people get a chance to just, unfortunately, sit down and read some stuff, and then they can come home and be a little more civically and politically aware and minded. And we're going to put together, I don't want to name a lot of the stuff that we're going to put together, but you know, we definitely are putting some things together right now. We don't need nobody trying to steal our intellectual property.
Yeah. And it should definitely be, you know, something way more solid than Democratic down ballot, because I don't know what that was.
That was trash.
And then, but you also gotta, you family, we also got to do this too, right? We have to exercise some initiative, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might can't change the curriculum today. It might not change tomorrow. But what are you going to do in the meantime and in between time? You have to search this knowledge out for yourself and teach it to yourself, learn it yourself, and then teach it to your babies. Teach it to your sons and your daughters, so that at least they are informed and they know when they go out there that what they are learning is bullshit. You understand? So oftentimes we sit back in the absence of some structure or some established institution that can teach us something and say, we're going to wait. And what are we going to do until it gets here? What you can do is exercise some initiative to get this knowledge and digest it yourself, and then teach it to your babies, because the family is the first institution. And if we get enough families together, we can build anything that we desire. You understand? Get the community right, and everything else will grow from it. We have to get our relationships right first. Everything starts with self and then goes to that other self reflection that you get together with, and you create them sequels, and then you create them the other things, and you grow out. Now the community comes together. See, these things don't start outside and then come in. They start on the inside and then they're born outward. So if you want these things in your life and you desire these things, you have to exercise some initiative. You have to go dig deep. And do so, and then you got to go find this stuff. This stuff is not something that is being taught to me somewhere. This is where my mind is at. I'm looking for this information. And then when I get this information, I'm sitting my kids down and I'm like, sit down now, turn your iPhones off, and we're not doing TikTok and none of that. You're going to read about your Freedmen history. You have to take order and put the things you want in your life and put it in there. Nobody's going to do it for you. We have to build the world that we want. And we can't do it without all of us participating, but it starts with self, family.
Yeah, and now I want to suggest a book.
Okay,
I want to suggest a book real quick, and I have this book up here. It's called "The Betrayal of the Negro," if you want to learn about Freedmen's history, particularly what happened with from Rutherford B. Hayes to Woodrow Wilson, you know, this is the book to get. You want to know what happened to the Freedmen and how they basically deprived us of our rights and our history in regards to Freedmen and Reconstruction and the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Get this book.
Facts.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to say in regards to that thing in Virginia, you know, I didn't pull that up to say, hey, you know, hooray, you know, that's Northam gave us something in that regard. You know, like I said, he did some good things. Some good things happened in Virginia that's long overdue. Still a long way to go, obviously. But I would say that we need to, you know, this is something that at the core of things, that we know that we know that the Daughters of the Confederacy was at the helm of this thing. We need the United Sons and Daughters of the Freedmen to fix this thing. You know, and so that's why we put this organization. We started that organization, and you know, across the country, it should be people demanding that their school systems make changes to the curriculum and have a very rich and well vetted, curated education system, education course that teaches our history proper. Because otherwise, if you don't program the youth at the children in school, and you just allow them to rock with the white supremacy that they were taught at home, and you just allow them to rock with the lost cause teachings in the school system, and our people to feed into that crap, how you think your kids? I mean, what do you expect from them? You expect for them to be subservient. You expect for them to believe the wrong, the straight up lies and the terrible perspective that's in it. Man, that stuff has to be cleaned up in every city, every state, every county, and that's not going to happen by osmosis. That's going to happen by you understanding what the history is and demanding in your local area that stuff be addressed. You know, put pressure on your governor to make the change. We saw Governor Northam just, you know, he had pressure on his behind. He was going to lose his position. Stuff happened. You know, put pressure on him and get stuff changed. And you know, was another tweet down here. It said, I'm just going to read it. I don't have to pull it up. It says, both the Virginia House and Virginia Senate have passed bills that will provide in-state undocumented students with access to state financial assistance programs starting August 1st, 2022. And now, what? Now this is a whole another program, but this goes again to say, if you don't fight for your tribe, people are going to fight to take food away from your tribe. People are going to fight for you get everything else done that does not advance your tribe, and that is going to be advancing their group. So I just got to say that.
Right.
Definitely.
Where's that one? Can you go back to that one picture you just had up with the family? That was a real powerful picture. And Dante said something in the chat that made me think of something, man. And I want to go back to that if we can, because people don't understand, like, what was the freedmen's plight, right? And then what was we struggling? What did we want most during our sojourn through slavery, right? What did we want? We just wanted to have our family together. Most of our fighting and most of our running away from the plantation was so that we could get to our lost ones who have been sold.
I don't think. My bad, brother Logic. I don't think people see what's going on in this picture.
No, I'm about to say it.
Go ahead.
Right, I'm about to get to that. So, and it's a lot of stuff going on, right? So you see this family here, the babies, the mom, everybody's looking out the window, and then you see the bag heads, right? Coming in. You see one in the window, one at the foot of the door, one in the door with a rifle, right? And what are they about to do? This whole picture is political cartoon showing you that the black family is a threat. This is just my interpretation of it. And that we must eliminate the black family. We must kill them and destroy them and just look at them, right? But it goes back to my point that the whole entire plight for the freedmen was to just, we wanted to be a family. We wanted to have our wives and our husband and our children and keep them together. That's our plight. And now we are they have had a perpetual concentrated attack on our family units and structure our entire time in this country, right? Because why? The black family is the most powerful thing we can have. That's why we are constantly attacked day in and day out. With the black family is divine. You understand?
That's right.
When you come into this world, don't no babies start hollering for Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, and nothing like that. What do they want? The babies want their mama. You understand?
Right.
Babies want their father. You understand? That is the only thing they know. The woman is the first prophet. Everybody talk about prophet this and prophet that. Your mother was the prophet. She knew when you was going to get sick. She knew when you was going to get in trouble. She said, don't go over there. There's trouble over there. If you do this, this is going to happen. She's been prophesizing to you your whole entire life. You understand? You know, your father, it was your first educator and your fearless teacher, and he set the example for you. You understand? So we done got out of divinity by looking for everything outside of the black family. The black family is God. You understand? But they done destroyed our divinity by destroying our families. So now you don't respect your mother. You don't respect your father. You got all of this confusion in the household and in the family, and now you wondering what's wrong with us. You see us in social media and all over TV, we look like a crazy people, but we're not a crazy people. Somebody and something made us that way. It was the destruction. The black family, the Freedmen family, and the Freedmen community, you understand? And now we running around all crazy, don't know what's going on. We don't want to love each other. Don't you ask a young brother, what does he think about marriage when you want to get married, young man? He look at you like you're crazy. Marriage? Nobody want to get married. They done made us think marriage and building the institution of family is something to detest. And this is what they have been working on ever since this picture was made. You understand? Because they know how powerful the institution of family is. When you look at the people who run America, it's families. The Rockefellers, that's a family name. The Wahlbergs, the Waltons, those are family names. You understand? Understand that we cannot get where the destiny that we're trying to go as baby mamas and baby daddies. You understand? Team ain't gonna get you there.
And trying to normalize LGBT relationships and all of this stuff.
All of that stuff.
I'm looking forward to that buck breaking film. That from the highlight of it, man. It looks like it's gonna be good. And I think it's timely. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I want to check that out myself.
Right.
You know, so we don't know what legacy we should be recapturing, right? Because these stories have been hidden from us, you know. So once we learn our own story, we'll be able to author our own destiny, right? And we won't be living in someone else's destiny. But we've done forgot about our ancestors, man. And that's why we've been perpetually receiving so much hell.
Peace. That's right. Basically, the moral decay, man, the moral decay of the Freedmen community. As long as they can keep us worrying about something and doing TikTok, twerking videos, all of that kind of stuff, man, and keep us distracted with the Freedmen families, man, and the Freedmen, the lost foundation of Freedmen will never get together. You know what I'm saying? So, Brother Naheem, man, I know we getting close to that hour, but that second hour, you want to put that because I don't think that we could end this thing without talking about Richard R. Wright, who's basically the Richard Robert Wright, who's the founder of Freedom Day or Freedmen's Day.
Oh yeah, it's up. I mean, this brother, president of the Georgia State Industrial College for Colored Youth. I mean, you know, this was a very, very powerful brother, born 1855, passed in 1947, was an American military officer, educator and college president, politician, civil rights advocate, and banking entrepreneur. Like, we don't have that today. Where do we see that among the descendants of freedmen today, right? And you may have one or two people, but they normally don't represent our interests. They represent the interests of corporatists who are running government. These are people that were doing things specifically for us. For us. It says, among his many accomplishments, he founded a high school, a college, and a bank. He also founded the National Freedom Day Association. So, you know, this brother was powerful. Here's an image of him as an elder. You know,
doing Freedmen work, doing what Freedmen do.
Doing what Freedmen do. Looking like a Freedman.
Looking like a Freedman, huh?
This is our tribe, family.
Yeah.
This is our tribe right here. And we have to resurrect. We have to quicken. We have to quicken the thing that had decayed by breathing on it with the breath of truth, or what we used to call the holy breath. Breathing the breath of truth upon those pliant substances that are and have been disintegrating for the past 100, 200 years of so-called reconstruction. And I call it so-called because it was overthrown. It was deconstruction. That period needs to be called deconstruction, not reconstruction, because it only worked really for 7 years, and that was it. And we are now suffering the consequences of it, from slavery to Jim Crow and redlining, the terror that we face from the Klansmen of yesterday to the Klansmen in police uniform today, to the civil rights era, to the crack era. I mean, Jack Johnson beat a white champion. They called him the Great White Hope. That's where you get the name from back in the days. And the KKK suited up and went and slayed Negroes just because they Great White Hope lost. This was the same sentiment that Brother Logic spoke to earlier when he said, fresh out of slavery, we became masterminds. 3 years out of slavery, we became masterminds. We were political juggernauts. One generation removed, we were political juggernauts, and they were in fear. And if you look at the Confederates today, they dumb as a bag of bricks. It's just, it is what it is. They ain't changed. We gotta wisen up now.
You know what,
the masses on point now.
You just made me think of something, bro, because they put us to sleep, because we used to know that we needed to fight. Like, we are a fighting people. We are very resilient and a resisting type of people naturally, right? So, but we didn't forget who we were. We knew who our adversaries were, and we fought that adversary. And we fought them. We have been the best rival to this beast than anyone could ever do. We have the best track record of freedom fighting and liberation than anyone. The Haitians patterned their thing after us, right? People all around the world have patterned a lot of what they have done to get some progress in their home after where they live in their countries, after what our ancestors have done and what we have done after them. But we have kind of gotten away from that. We don't know we used to be uncompromising. We used to know that, listen, this is what we want and this is what we have to have. Now we are all over the place. We have to refocus, family. We have to get ourselves back in order, get our houses back in order, get our minds back in order, and get refocused, family, because we don't even know who to have. We don't even know who to fight no more. We don't even know where the fight is at. We fighting everything but the adversary. We don't even know who our enemies are politically, literally, in any other kind of way. And we sitting back, taking our friends for enemies and our enemies for friends. We have to understand who we are. We have a natural adversary here in this country, and we need to act accordingly, family. Get back in tune with your true history, your true lineage as an American, and then do what you need to do to progress and grow and develop in that way. We got to get off all this foolishness stuff, all this crazy stuff. We had some interesting conversations earlier today. People want to be everything but who they really are. They want to be Aboriginal, Indigenous. They want to be Chief Blackfoot, Big Face, and everything, but they don't want to be Harriet Tubman. They don't want to be Frederick Douglass. They don't want to be
Morocco.
You know what I'm saying? They want to be they want to be from Timbuktu.
Sultans of the West.
They want to be soldiers of the West, but they don't want to be from Mississippi. They want to be from the Nile Valley, but not Mississippi Valley. You understand? They don't understand that we have the greatest history right here in America, man. And we just trying to bring that back to you, family. Hopefully, we brought a lot back to you tonight, and that you can go back and hope. We dropped a lot of good stuff. I hope y'all go back and look at some of this stuff, man. Graham had the book. What was it called again? You're muted, bro. The Betrayal of the Negro.
Betrayal of the Negro.
I got another great one that you get both of them if you can, but if you can't, get one of them. You understand? This is The Bloody Shirt. And these two books, and there's others, but these two books right here, whoo, if you interested in like the Freedmen history that they really, really don't want you to know, get these books. And you're gonna learn a whole lot about your history, family.
Facts. So as we wrap it up, you know, this energy that we have is going to be for the whole month.
Oh, I mean,
yeah. We come with the energy, but this is Freedmen Month right here.
Yes.
We ain't going to call it just Black History Month. Because I used to say that. You know, we don't get into Egypt. We always talk about the same stuff, but they kept a cycle of just speaking about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. We ain't learned about Prince Rivers. We ain't learned about what's his name, Robert Smalls. We ain't learned about some of these great people. You know, we just learned about the same individuals because their images have been sanitized in the history books by the Daughters of the Confederacy from the get-go, right? So now we bring the history back. We boost and elevate our heroes. We create the apotheosis, which means raising a man to a godlike level like they do with Washington in the Rotunda. If you look at the Rotunda, it's called the apotheosis of Washington. And if you look up the word apotheosis, it means raising one up to a godlike level. Now we get to do that with our people. We get to interject and inject our own spiritualism into our Freedmen history right here in the United States of America. Family, let's go. We are the descendants of freedmen, period. Yes, on this side of the nation.
Yeah. On this side of the nation, we're descendants of freedmen.
Yes. Tell them again. Say it again, brother.
on this side of the nation,
what?
We're descendants of freedmen.
We are the descendants of freedmen on this side of the nation.
Okay, what are they on the other side?
I think they the descendants of slaves on the other side of the nation.
Nah, they not even slaves. They not descendants of slaves. They descendants of slavery.
Oh, descendants of slavery, not slaves. Yeah, you're right.
Nah,
you're right.
Well, they just organizational members, really.
That's all they are. They're just organization.
It ain't even a tribe anymore.
It ain't a tribe no more. It's a 501c4. That's what it is. A C4.
Is it?
Hey, C4. No C4 blow up. We got some.
Is it? Hold on. What did y'all say? Is it?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm with Josh. I don't know what that is over there. Man.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit is a pending trademark. That's what that shit is.
Man, y'all cut.
All right, family.
My Freedmen correspondence, man.
All right, family. Look, we gonna wrap it up. We coming up on 2 hours now. You know, man, this was a powerful bill tonight. Got me electrified. I'm ready to turn up, do 1,000 push-ups, and just get it in tonight. You know. So, anybody have any closing words before we get up off of here? Go ahead, brother Logic, and then Grim, Josh, Ali.
Man, I just want to thank all my Freedmen family and my freedom correspondents out here to do this program. I'm very excited about not the new knowledge. We're not bringing you nothing new. We're bringing you that old knowledge that you've been forgotten and has been lost and has been buried. We had dug it up. We've excavated the knowledge we've resurrected the dead knowledge of your ancestors and brought life back to our lineage. You understand? People talk that lineage talk, but then they don't teach you about the lineage history, right? The heroes, you understand? And the sheroes and the great people who have contributed to they talk about the blood and the bones, but who are the people when they had the blood and the bones and the life living in this country, and what did they do and what did they represent? We're here to bring that back to you. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, share, because we're going to give you the education of all times today. You can't get this from the university. You understand? You can't get this from the mountaintop. You got to come on down here to the people, because we the ones who have the knowledge. You understand? And it's being revealed to you for the first time in ages. You understand? We done got the keys and freed the secrets. These are secrets. They don't want you to know. Prince Ripple is a secret. You understand? Understanding this history, we are freeing the secrets to y'all right now. And so tune in with the Freedmen, reparationists. This is what we do. We love y'all. It's all about the people with us, you know, and we love y'all, man. Keep coming in. It's going to be a powerful month.
Politics, government is what?
Government is the game, and politics is how it's played, family. You can't win until you get in the game. Let's do it.
Go ahead, Brother Grimm.
Peace. I just wanted to share this. I wanted to go back to what Brother Ali was talking about in my closing statements. I know we had a lot to cover, but you know, Ali showed that picture of Hiram Revels sitting in the chair that was in Harper's Weekly, right? And it had the what was the European name? He said that the lusty Moor has taken my seat. They're referring to Hiram Revels as a Moor. Now, relax, y'all. Nobody's trying to convert y'all to nothing. You know, because we not converted to nothing. You follow what I'm saying to you?
That's right.
I just wanted to show at the cover of this book that this whole experiment of America, this whole experiment of the United States of America, this discovery of America, this landmass, all of this stuff in general is an outgrowth of the conquest of the Moors. Those people, the sons and daughters of northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, those people are your ancestors that was enslaved, sold by their own people, brought across the Atlantic Ocean and brought into it. So we the outgrowth, or whatever. Our fall was the outgrowth of this demonstration, and now it's being followed up in the form of the lost found tribes of freemen. We the fallen sons and daughters of the freemen, and that's all I have to say. Peace.
Brother Ali, no, Brother Josh. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Ali.
I would just follow that and say at some point we're going to go into it further and talk about how the white supremacist activity that we see is really just a continuation of that war against the Moors that we was just talking about. It's just really a continuation. It's never really stopped.
That's right. And they don't, a lot of other people just don't understand it.
They don't understand it. And Logic actually touched on it with the book that he was referencing from the elder that passed away. What's the sister's name? You used her source.
Oh yeah, we talking about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
Frances Cress Welsing. Yeah, she broke it down in that piece she was using too. Same exact history.
Oh yeah, we're gonna really get into that too. We're gonna get into that history, because without that, you really don't understand where the hate is really embedded in, and the jealousy. We got to get into that one day too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Brother Josh.
Yeah, man, another powerful build. Appreciate everybody for walking with us and allowing us to walk you through the history and the perspective. We're gonna do a lot more of this coming month. I mean, this is what we do. You know, anybody trying to figure out what we do, this is what we do right here.
This is it right here.
So I just want to say, everybody, happy Freedmen's Day, and February 1st, 2022 and beyond. That's the same thing you need to be saying. Happy Freedmen's Day.
Absolutely.
That's right. So, family, we come to the end of another dynamic and powerful discussion by the BTP Freedmen correspondents. We ain't no joke. Not conservatives, not liberals. Wait. Let's hone in on that. Not conservatives, not liberals, not progressives. We are reparationists. Can I get a I am a reparationist in the chat one time?
Yeah. Yes.
Freedmen first, family. Freedmen first. Let's get an I am a reparationist in the chat, family. Look, you already know what it is. Don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.
Happy Freedom Day.
Happy Freedmen's Day.